What's good, Finn Nation? What's good? It's your boy Reason. We are back here for another one. Listen, I need everyone. If you have not yet, go watch and go show some love to the Jalen Phillips film study. I re-uploaded it because I didn't like the quality. It dipped on the first half of the video. So shout out to the homie David. We re-uploaded that, fixed that problem. So um, you know, this thing should be sitting around 2,000 views, but because I had to pull the original down and re-upload it, go show it some love. Go smash the like button on that, and smash the like button on this video while we're at it. But I hope everyone had a good week. Friday night game preview night. You already know what time it is. Um, the Miami Dolphins. They are facing a team who is also struggling in the Houston Texans. As everyone knows, I was supposed to be at this game, but due to circumstances out of my control, I am not at this game. So, anyways, um, I'll be live as always, as usual, as always on Sunday, and we'll go over it. We'll break it down post game while it's happening. Appreciate everyone for coming out again for tonight. Now, we're gonna start off before we get into everything. Obviously, the talk of the day is Odell Beckham Jr. and whether the Miami Dolphins should sign Odell Beckham Jr., especially now um, with the DeVante Parker situation. Um, Now, here's where I'm at. I I've always liked OBJ the player back since New York. I've always heard bad things about OBJ and how he's conducted himself on the sideline, like not even off the field stuff, like behind the scenes stuff. You know what I mean? Like demanding the football. Eli. I've always told everyone. You go back to TD FinTalk when I talk about it. I would always talk about how Eli was a veteran. He had already won Super Bowls before OBJ showed up. He knew how to handle OBJ and his attitude and his demanding for the ball. I mean, he'd gone through it with other guys too, right? And OBJ needs a personality that knows how to handle him. And I'm a huge Jarvis Landry fan. When he went to the Browns, I was crushed. And if you saw how they performed before OBJ was getting there, they were starting to build it. When OBJ got there, he kind of messed up the mojo that was being built. And then when they went on a playoff run last year, OBJ was hurt. So they made it without him. And I was always saying, Baker will have a better chance of reaching ceiling without OBJ in his ear because you can create bad habits, bad tendencies if you got someone always demanding the ball in your ear and they're also good. Because what that can happen is, if you see he's covered instead of going to your second progression or next read, you could just start forcing balls to him because you don't want him in your ear. And that's always a bad thing. So especially with a young quarterback that's developing, you want them to read the field. You don't want them to get fixated on one guy. You know what I mean? So now Odell Beckham, I don't think it's gonna happen. Now the Dolphins are number 2 on waiver priority. The problem is the contract. He restructured his contract with Cleveland before he got waived. They they lopped off the final 2 years of his contract because he's supposed to be signed since 22 through 2023. They cut off the final 2 years. And now for a team to claim him, he has a $7.25 million cap hit. And the Dolphins right now only have 1.4 million. Now, Brian Flores did say they would do due diligence on a player like OBJ. But the problem is, and he won't hit waivers till Monday too. He's not even on waivers yet. The problem is, if A, the waiver order could change, B, they don't have the money. They do not have the money for Odell Beckham right now. So I don't think it's going to happen. Personally, though, first, before we continue on here, I want to Shout out to Fred for the 199 super sticker. Shout out to Cap for Life. What's going on, brother? Shout out to Cap for Life again. Hope you're a good, my G. OBJ is not needed. No dice in my book. I agree with you. I agree with you. He's injured all the time. He's like, you know why he lopped off the final 2 years? Because he knows no. I think right now there's only 8 teams in the NFL that have. Let me just verify. There's only 8 teams in the NFL that have the cap space to accommodate the 7.25 million hit. He played the game. OBJ played the game. He didn't let the game play him. Let me just make sure for you guys. I want to give you the right numbers. Okay. So, while teams obviously have ways to create cap space because it's a always fluid number, as of this morning, 9 teams had over 7.25 million in cap space, which is what you need to claim Odell. The Jaguars, the Eagles, the Broncos, the Seahawks, the Panthers, the Chargers, the Steelers, Washington, and the Bengals. Notice how the Chargers and the Bengals are on that, and they both rebuilt their offensive lines, but yet the Dolphins aren't. And yet we have the second highest paid. I want some people to realize we are the second highest paid wide receiving corps in the NFL. All right. And guess what? It's looking like this weekend, ladies and gentlemen, with Parker out, the Dolphins are going to be with Jalen Waddle, Preston Williams, Matt Collins, Isaiah Ford, and Albert Wilson. Like, how do you have all this money invested in that between Will Fuller? I don't care what anyone says. What I was told was 110% correct that Will Fuller was contemplating retirement. You're telling me this guy with this finger injury doesn't want to play? You telling me this guy wants to be here right now? Guys, Will Fuller been checked out. Will Fuller just here for the money. He'd been checked out. I got an episode of Fin Too Deep is going to be going up tonight. All right, guys. And Neil Driscoll, my co-host, talks about a quote he was told. Will Fuller apparently asked his agent, should I go to Miami or should I go to Green Bay? His agent said, if you want to win, go to Green Bay. If you want the money, go to Miami. Where's he at right now? Where is he at? And guys, I'm going to be dropping some Patreon info tonight. I got a lot. I'm either going to drop it late tonight or early tomorrow, but I got some Patreon only insider info that's going to be coming up. Guys, smash that like button, subscribe if you're new. If you'd like to donate to the channel, paypal.me/Finside. You know, if you want to become a Patreon, patreon.com/Finside the NFL, you'll get that insider info. You'll get early access like you got to that Jalen Phillips video, but you'll also get modded here on Finside the NFL. So patreon.com/Finside the NFL. Also, if you want early access to my videos like that Jalen Phillips film study, but you also look around and you see all these people using these emojis and you see these people with the badges next to the name, become a YouTube channel member. The description is in the link below, but you can just hit that join button right next to subscribe. Multiple levels for you. Shout out to all the Patreons and all the YouTube channel members. I love each and every one of you. And I'm handling something where I'm going to have a graphic coming up so I don't have to list out all your names. I'm handling on something, working on something. Patchvibes.com so you guys will get your shout out. Patchvibes.com. Use code FINSIDE to save 20% off your order. Backroomcollection.net. Use code REASON to save 10% off your order. And of course, ThriveFantasy.com. Use code FINSIDE to have every dollar up to your first 100 that you deposit matched by ThriveFantasy.com. ThriveFantasy.com, the number one website in fantasy prop betting. So let that sink in. Will Fuller was asked, he asked his agent, should I go to Miami or Green Bay? And his agent said, if you want to win, go to Green Bay. If you want the money, go to Miami. And that's where it's at. Just saying. Shout out to Fred, $4.99. Can we have a fully healthy offense? At least Tua probably playing with 50% of our starters. Man, I'm used to it by now. I am used to it, Fred. It is brutal. It is brutal. It is brutal. Um. All right. Yeah. I'm at the point where I'm not even surprised anymore. Um. Another thing I've heard. I haven't put this on the Patreon, but I'll talk directly to you guys. So I've heard that the package, the compensation that was discussed between the Dolphins and the Texans with Deshaun Watson, the Miami Dolphins are not trying to give up their 2 first-round picks next year. I heard they want to give up a 2022 draft first rounder, a 2023 first rounder, and a 2024 first rounder. They actually don't want to give up 2 in the same year. So that's what I've heard. The discussion's been at. Um, so we'll see. Plus, obviously, other competition. But in terms of first round picks, that's what I've heard. The first round pick compensation being discussed was. But yeah, there's another little tidbit. But guys, if you got to be a Patreon, because tonight I'm going to be dropping a whole bunch of little tidbits on Tua, stuff that might surprise you, might shock you. I'm telling you, tonight's going to be, we got a lot to cipher through on the Patreon for the insider only info, and I'll be dropping that later tonight for sure, or early tomorrow morning, but probably later tonight after I hang out with the wife and I get back in front of the computer late tonight. I'll drop all those tidbits. All right. Regil, it's not in a good way. Not in a good way by any stretch of the imagination. It's surprising. Let's put it surprising. It's very surprising. Um, you know, basically the narrative for that is going to be, you know, the easiest way I can explain it and preview it. It seems like you listen to Jason Lackenfora's article before that Atlanta game talking about how guys were mad in the locker room about how Tua has been used. And then you go back and you're going to see what I'm being told. And it's a complete opposite. It's got me thinking that there's a division right now. And let me just put it this way. It seems like sides are being chose and narratives are being put out there. That's what it seems like. Because things that I've been told from people close to Tua don't align with what I'm being told. And what I'm being told is from someone very, 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 very credible. Like very, very credible. So, but I'll get into that on the Patreon tonight. It's kind of crazy. But we'll get into that later on the Patreon. So be sure to check it out, patreon.com/Finside the NFL Cap for Life. Yo, pop open the wallet. This is what happens when we are 1-7. Yeah, man. The distractions continue happening. And yo, Irving, you're 110% right. See, this is what I don't like. This is what I don't like. When something goes against what people want to believe, people got, all of a sudden we got to question these people's credibility. You know what I mean? Like Jason Lackenfora, I've been over and over. Whoever he's got inside is linking him up. Okay. I don't know what to say, but he's getting linked up with really solid info. Like Mike Florio seems to be trying to throw shit at the wall, hoping it sticks. Jason Lackenfora, since the off season, like since March, has been pretty good with his Miami Dolphins stuff. So, it's it's kind of crazy how people just don't. It's like you see everyone blowing this Greg Cassell. What Greg Cassell said on Colin Cowherd. First of all, they're trying to paint the picture that Tua isn't a good processor, isn't seeing the field. Well, if you actually listen to what Greg Cosell said, he talked about isolation, elimination, and isolation in an ISO scheme. When I had Alex Rollins up here, we talked about Tua because we ran a lot of ISO last year with Chan Gailey. That's because Tua didn't run ISO in college. That's why. Tua's not used to running ISO. So, like, that's why Greg Cosell didn't say he can't read the field. He's not a good processor. He talked about elimination and ISO. He was being specific. That's why. Anyways, but like I've already covered that. I covered that months ago. So people acting like this, but why is no one making videos, and why don't no one want to talk about the new Kurt Warner video? Like, why are we picking and choosing? You know, Greg Cosell, I know what he did for NFL Films, but are we going to say that this guy breaks down film better than a Hall of Fame quarterback named Kurt Warner? Are we really going to go there now to try and stretch narratives and make us feel better? Kid's thrown for over 2,800 yards, 19 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, 4 rushing touchdowns. Sorry, 5 rushing touchdowns. I apologize. In 13 starts, full games played through, the handful of snaps against Buffalo and the debut against the Jets, and we're actually out here sitting here crucifying him. It's unreal. Like, the lack of patience is hilarious to me. And, you know, it's crazy. And, you know, I break down film with Ballgame, who's coached, and I break down film with Martin, who played the position. Don't take it from the guy who played up in 3-down ball up here in Canada. Take it from Martin, who played against the Olivier Vernon Miami Hurricanes, and he played for Florida A&M. Take it from him. He played right down there. So it's hilarious. You know, everyone's affording to as much chances as his coaching staff, but yet they don't talk about Austin Jackson, just like this coaching staff doesn't talk about Austin Jackson. It's unbelievable. It's like mind-boggling that these people can get out of bed in the morning and put their pants on. It really is. Mitchell Gordon, we used all of our patience on Tannehill. Well, you got people out here who are still like huge in Twitter, YouTube. They're everywhere. There's not just one person. It's dozens of people hundreds of people are still Tannehill fans. And, you know, they still love him in Tennessee right now. But here's the reality. Tua right now looks like year 4, year 5 Tannehill. That's the reality of the situation. Go look at Tannehill's first 13 starts in the NFL, and then go look at Tua's. Tell me how that went. Like, give me a break. Reason you think Tua can still be an elite QB in this league without not having anything around him? I never said he would be elite with not having everything around him. I've said, go back, the receipts are out there. I said before we drafted Tua, I said I don't care if you draft Jordan Love, Tua Tagovailoa, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, build that offensive line. That's all I said. Build the offensive line. I don't care who the quarterback is. We need an offensive line. It could be me for all I give a shit. You could go out and trade and bring back Ryan Tannehill. I don't care. Well, Ryan Tannehill, we already know what the recipe for success is. It's a run game and an offensive line. We learned that in 2016. It's just Tennessee actually put it into action long term. That's actually what people aren't realizing. That's the recipe for 95% of the teams. Why do you think they want Watson? Because Watson is part of that 5% who has the athleticism and the legs to extend plays even further when everything breaks down, because they know they're not hitting. That's the worst thing. Everyone wants Watson, and he is an upgrade. But we all want them for different. Here's the thing. We would all like Watson on the Deshaun Watson for a different reason, no pun intended, than what Chris Greer or Brian Flores want him on. They want Watson because they can't develop players, and it's not just the quarterback. Okay, I've had this conversation. I'll have it again. Look around this team. Go out of the 2019 and the 2020 draft class. Now, a bunch of names aren't even here anymore. All right, get that out of the way. But everyone other than Christian Wilkins and Tua Tagovailoa look like they're regressing. Even Robert Hunt's having bad snaps and making mistakes he didn't make last year. Saul McKinley can't see the field. Noah Benogany can't get activated. Dieter took 3 years, and has he really given us more than what Ted Karras did? No. And he's supposed to be a guard. Van Ginkel regressed. Gaskin, 7th round pick, but they don't give him the ball enough. Like, if you actually sit back and look at it, and then you look at Tua and Christian, the actual guys actually producing here out of their 2020 and 2019 draft class, they still have holes in their game. You know why? Because of coaching. How do you know that reason? Easy. What was the knock on Wilkins coming out? Needed to develop his pass rushing repertoire, and he needed to be a better pass rushing threat consistently. That needed to be coached up. Still waiting on it. Has not been coached up. Tua Tagovailoa. Dude, even if you're an elite anticipator in the SEC, the windows and the game speed change when you get to the next level. You need to be coached on that transition, especially when your game relies on you being from the neck up in the upper echelon. That's coaching. You just can't expect a kid to coach himself up and then come and make the transition. Doesn't happen. Why was Herbert so successful last year? Because he was getting coached up and he had his physical traits. But he had Pep Hamilton. This year he has Joe Lombardi. Pep Hamilton groomed Andrew Luck. Joe Lombardi was there for 4 years with Drew Brees as his quarterback coach, and yet Herbert's still been statistically the worst quarterback in the NFL over the last 3 years, because even a guy with physical traits needs to be coached up and needs continued development. You see where I'm going with this? And you don't even have to point at the quarterback position. I've given you names. It's all over the field. It's on both sides of the ball. Guys are regressing from the 2019 and 2020 class. Cap for life, $2. 16 coaching since 2019. Do with that as you will. What do you mean, 16 coaches since 2019? Like, this is what people aren't realizing. Like, I built this channel to tell people the context because everything was looking at the face value. Take Tua out of the equation right now. This has nothing to do with Tua. We are talking about coaching right now. It is across the board screaming you in the face that they can't develop quarterbacks. Okay? I heard Dame on TD yesterday suggesting Malik Willis from Liberty. Malik Willis is a raw-ass project. Malik Willis needs a ton of coaching development. He's rawer than Tua ever was. They can't get Tua right. They can't grow Tua and develop Tua, but that's going to work with Malik Willis? No. Can't polish a turd and try to sell it to me as gold on that one. Not happening. You just can't. Like, that's why Penei Sewell, even if they would have drafted who I wanted, Penei Sewell, look at what happens to Austin. What's happened to Austin Jackson and Solomon Kinley and Robert Hunt this year? Do I believe they would have developed Penei Sewell? Do I believe if we would have drafted Rashawn Slater, if we would have stayed at 12 or whatever it was we traded back to, and we took Rashawn Slater, that he would be playing at the level he's playing at in Los Angeles right now with the coaching and the experience he has on that line with guys like Riley Reif and Corey Linsley and Filer? No, I don't. Like, you see where I'm going here? They can't develop. What? Needham was a UDFA. He doesn't even count. He wasn't a draft pick. You can't even use him in the example. I'm talking about actual draft picks. And you can't use a 2021 draft class because, I mean, they just started playing. Like, this is where I'm going at. Do you see where I'm going here with this? And how this isn't slapping people in the face and they want to just pin it on one person. Dude, this is why I've said this is a multitude of things going on here. This is not one person. Grizzard should be fired for how he's allowing Waddle to be used. Waddle, you can already see he's being underdeveloped. They haven't made him look like a 4.27 guy once this year. Once. Just people need to realize this, man. Like, actually sit back and look at the grand scheme of things. I want you people to realize it. Shout out to EM. You know what EM said to me? He said, you can't blame the coaching. You can't blame the coaching and the offensive line forever. Can't I? Can't I? You know why I can? I'll tell you why I can. Because Miami is allowing a pressure rate of 6.83%, the worst the Dolphins have allowed in 16 years since Pro Football Focus started tracking pressure rate. So that means you can make a legitimate argument, pass blocking wise, this is the worst offensive line we've had in at least 16 years. Like, I want to read this to you again. Miami is allowing a pressure rate of 6.83%, the worst the Dolphins have allowed in 16 years since Pro Football Focus started tracking it. That means you got to go back to at least before 2005 to find a worse pass blocking offensive line that's existed in Miami. Just like, Tua doesn't push the ball down the field, right? So tell me why Mike Gesicki has 5 catches of 20-plus yards this season, which is tied with Mark Andrews and Kyle Pitts for the most amongst all tight ends, because last I checked, he gets most of his bread and butter with Tua throwing him the football. But yet, Tua doesn't push the ball down the field, right? Yet our tight end is tied for most 20-plus yard passes in the NFL. You go figure that out. Shit's a mess, man. I've been telling y'all about the coaching staff since the offseason. No one wanted to listen to it. Then when Jacoby came in, it glared y'all right in the face. People are trying to blame. Here, hold on a sec. Cap for life. 4 OC coaches and 4 O-line since 2019. And 8 coaches promoted last year alone. 16 coaches. That's ridiculous, cap for life. And you know what I want to say? I said this. I said this to EM. I'll say it to all of you. All right? When he said to me, Greg Gassell, he basically said, Greg Gassell said that Tua was holding the offense back, but Greg Gassell didn't say that, but I guess he was indicating, he was implying that. Okay, if he's holding the offense back so much, and he's the reason why the offensive coordinators are doing what they're doing, why didn't it switch up when Jacoby Brissett took over and all they did was take out the RPO because Jacoby Brissett was struggling with the quick decision-making of the RPO? Explain to me why they didn't switch it. Explain. Explain to me that. We got no answers for that. None whatsoever. And it looked worse with Jacoby Brissett. The guy been in the league for like 6 or 7 years, started 30 games in the NFL. You people are fucking delusional sometimes, and it's unreal, man. It is unbelievable. Like, to just sit there and blame one person for all the faults, like, without taking the context of what's going on, is crazy. And I'm going to say this. I'm going to say it one more time. Like, when all of a sudden did these people become the authority in quarterbacks when they had the credibility or the cachet to declare this kid a bust after 14 games? When if you look at him statistically and what he's done, he's given you the best stuff over the first 15 games and the first 13 starts of any quarterback we've had since Dan Marino. Is Watson an upgrade? Sure. But I'm not talking about trading him right now. I'm talking about the narratives that are trying to be created. It's crazy to me. Like when he goes and balls somewhere else, I don't want to hear none of that shit. When we miss out on Watson and we're left sitting on our hands and we don't have nothing, and we got to watch this kid ball somewhere else, and we got to watch Watson ball somewhere else, and we got to sit back and go into the quarterback search. I don't want to hear a fucking peep from anyone. Do not want to hear a word. Because people need to realize, I've already publicly stated, I want the front office fixed. I want the department, the scouting department redone. Listen, if you bring in the right guys and the right GM and Flores and Tua's tenures in Miami is in their hands, that's cool with me because I want it fixed. I think we're rotten at the core. I want the front office fixed. So it is what it is with that situation. My evaluation continues on Tua, whether he's in Dolphin uniform or not. So I ain't sweating it. I'm here to win. And I know this has got to be changed in the front office out. It's got to start in the front office, work down to the sidelines, and then come onto the product of the field. That's the order it needs to go on because the scouting philosophies, the in-house philosophies, the fundamental beliefs, they all and the culture all need to be changed up for the Miami Dolphins. That's it. Sorry. And listen, does that mean Flores is a dead man walking? Probably. Does that mean Tua is a dead man walking? Probably. He may get an extra year because they're going to go out there and I know not a lot of people are high on this draft class, and Tua's, as a prospect was better than any of these guys coming out, and you're already this deep into his development, and then a new GM and coach might go get their own guy in 2023 if Tua doesn't show them enough. That may happen, but they may also get rid of Tua with the new regime coming in. I get all that. I just need this to be built right. I need, this to be tore down and rebuilt on field from 2019, but clearly, and this isn't on Brian Flores, the tear down and rebuild also needed to happen in the front office first. Then you needed to hire Flores with a new GM and a fresh set of eyes, like someone who had not been tied to the Dolphins like Greer. And then you needed to tear down the roster. That's what needed to happen. But we soft rebooted the front office, tore down and rebuilt the coaching staff and the the roster. I get that. Like Neil suggested to me, you go out and you can hire Marvin Allen from within, and then he can bring in Bieniemy and my Kafka idea, Bieniemy with Kafka with Marvin Allen because of the Kansas City ties between all of them. And Deshaun Watson wants Bieniemy and Kafka. If we're going to get Watson, he wanted Bieniemy, so you could make Watson happy with Bieniemy. But Cap for life. I agree. If we crap out this season, we start all over from scratch with a new front office. Let me ask you guys this. Food for thought before we get into this. Okay. If we lose to the Texans, I saw someone ask Omar. Omar's been dug in. He said they're not going to fire Chris Greer, or they're not going to fire Steven. They're not going to fire Greer, and they're not going to fire Flores, and that they're going to get another year. And Omar Kelly's been dug in on that. Someone asked Omar. Someone said to Omar, "What if we lose to the Texans?" And he said, "If we lose to the Texans, all bets are off." Fred donates $4.99. I love Tua progression promise despite what's going on with our organization. Despite Watson and his problems, I don't think you can upgrade from Tua. Dude, would Tua be what Justin Herbert was last year in Los Angeles? No. But I bet you Tua would be further along in Los Angeles under Pep Hamilton and now Joe Lombardi than what he is here. And without all the noise and with that offensive line they have there. Now, would he have won Rookie of the Year last year? I'm not going to sit here and say that. So, I mean, people need, just like Herbert would not have won Rookie of the Year here. People need to realize you would not see. First of all, they wouldn't have started him until the 7th game like they did with Tua. So he wouldn't have put up the numbers to beat out Justin Jefferson because he wouldn't have broken all those records. So Herbert wouldn't have run the Rookie of the Year here. Just wouldn't have happened. By the 6 starts he would have lost. He wouldn't have thrown as much because we were in games and we wanted Tua to be efficient with the ball because we were in a playoff race. So he wouldn't have been throwing 50 times a game like we are this year when we're behind. That wouldn't have been the mojo last year. So again, they would have stunted him. You would have seen flashes. Now, this year, they would have been saying let it loose because of how it's worked out. And this year, maybe because he just going to let it rip, you would have seen craziness. But last year, we would have just seen flashes and had teasers. AT Fins News says going 10-6 and the very next year being one of the worst teams in the league should never happen, in my opinion. I agree 110%. But this is what's happened, ladies and gentlemen. The lack of paying attention to certain areas, i.e., I told y'all Jerome Baker wasn't that good. Got so much heat on Twitter for that contract. Where are we now? And that's been one of our weakest links to the run defense. Okay. You look at the running backs. Not only are we not run blocking very well right now, but in terms of yards after contact, Malcolm Brown is 51st in the NFL. Myles Gaskin is 87th. And Salvon Ahmed is 91st. For context, Jonathan Taylor, who all of you have been following me since 2019, knew I wanted 3 guys in that draft. Tua, Tristan Wirfs, and Jonathan Taylor. And I wanted Ashton Davis or Winfield at safety. But anyways, those were the guys I wanted. Well, Jonathan Taylor is 15th in yards after contact. And Javonte Williams, who we missed out this year, is 21st. So not paying attention to the running back game, not paying attention to the running back room, reaching and not doing what was necessary in terms of ensuring there's solid talent on the offensive line has hurt them, and the linebacking core has hurt them. Plus, receivers can't stay healthy. They're all a bunch of glass. So, yeah, I know, checking out. Let's just get the Kobe Dean and Jordan Davis, bro. I'll just give me those 2 guys. Shit, you give me Kobe Dean, a linebacker, and you give me Jordan Davis in the middle, man. I'll turn us to a 4-3 with Raekwon and Jacoby and Jordan Davis in the middle, and let her eat, bro. Let them eat. Okay, so let's get AT Baker is the worst high paid linebacker in the league. Bro, people are on Twitter. Where are all these people on Twitter that were comparing him to Fred Warner, and they're comparing him to Darius Leonard because they were just stat watching, not tape watching, and trying to justify the money he got spent? Where are all these people at? Clowns. Okay. Let's get in to the preview. With all that said, went a little too long on the opening, but hey, c'est la vie, baby. Okay, now we are going to start with the weather report here. So this is what it's looking like on Sunday, obviously, because I was supposed to be there. Clear, low of 74, high of 75 in the third quarter, then back to 74, 59% humidity. That'll drop down to 56 by the end of the game. 0 chance of precipitation, about 27 to 30% cloud cover throughout the game. So it's going to be a nice day for football. Bring your water, though. Stay hydrated. Going to be clear throughout the day. Texans and Dolphins. It's going to be a nice day for football. And it's going to be a nice day for Tua to have a fire lit under his ass, because these Texans have caused Tua more headaches than anyone. So the weather is in your favor, Tua. All right. Now, Um, just before we get into the full injury report, here is what happened today. The Dolphins placed DeVante Parker on injured reserve. He suffered a setback with his hamstring in practice. He's now out 3 games minimum. DeVante Parker continues to be an issue, and you have to ask yourself, guys, is it time for the Dolphins to finally move on from DeVante Parker? They had offers. They chose not to trade him because they believe we have a championship caliber roster. I think it's time to move on from DeVante Parker. I know he's having a quietly good season, but when he is playing, but the fact of the matter is, we just cannot rely on this guy. Everyone wants to. Here's another example of, everyone wants to be out on 2 after 14, 15 games, but they want to give Parker 7, 8 years. You know what I mean? Like, unreal. So, now I know he can't be traded right now. Maybe you could trade him when the new league year starts in March, but I think this has to be the end of DeVante Parker. He's just not reliable. And once again, because of this injury, ladies and gentlemen, he puts us in a situation where our young quarterback, is going to be only relying on Jalen Waddle, Preston Williams, Matt Collins, Isaiah Ford, and Albert Wilson this weekend. So again, and obviously Mike Gesicki, but unreliable. Availability is the best availability is the best ability, and DeVante Parker has just not displayed that throughout his career. So it's going to need to be better than what he's displayed so far. I'm personally officially out on DeVante Parker. I think it's time that the Dolphins are too, to be honest with you. And obviously, with him going on IR, a roster spot opened up, and the Dolphins were awarded linebacker Darius Hodge off waivers from Cincinnati. Now, Hodge, he's just played like 6 or 7 snaps defensively and another 12 snaps for special teams. He was a UDFA for the Bengals. He's from Marshall. Um, I mean, just a body. Nothing that's gonna move the needle for the Miami Dolphins. So I wouldn't, get your hopes up that this is a game changer. So the Miami Dolphins claimed Darius Hodge filling that roster spot, and like the Snoop Dogg gif says, who? All right. So when we take a look at the injury report for the Miami Dolphins, um, guys and gals, this is what we get. Now Tua, he is on here. Jerome Baker, he's questionable. Tua is questionable. Tua, apparently he banged his left finger, and there a finger on his left hand is throwing in, and there is some swelling, but he is believed he's going to be expected to go. Jerome Baker, he's been working back his way back. He looks like he's going to be ready to go. Um, Obviously, Brandon Jones was limited, but he's not even questionable, so he should be good to go. Um, and then Greg Mance, he's good. We'll see who starts. Apparently, it's been quite the battle between him and Reader this week. Jalen Phillips is full. As you see, DeVante Parker was placed on IR. Now, you look at the Houston Texans, and good God Almighty, that is a long list of. It's a lot of people, but they're all coming back. So, including Brandon Cooks. So long list of players. Now, Christian Kirksey is probably the best player that's out, not named Deshaun Watson. But long list of players for the Texans, but they're getting a lot of guys back, like Jonathan Greenard, who's actually been a really good pass rusher for them this year. Brevin Jordan, a lot of you Hurricane fans remember him. He's a full participant, so he's good to go. So it's going to be interesting. Obviously, Brevin Jordan's going to score a touchdown or two against us in his return home to Miami. Why wouldn't he? All right, when you match these two teams up, when you look at how they stack up, guys, this is what you get. The Miami Dolphins offense is 29th in the NFL in yards per game, averaging about 319. Houston, they're 31st in the NFL, averaging 297.8. Passing yards, the Dolphins are 25th, averaging 223.2. Houston is 30th, averaging 205. Dead on. The Dolphins have now once again dipped below 80 yards, average rushing yards per game. They're back down to 30th at 78.6. Houston's 32nd at 76.1. Points per game, the Dolphins are 29th, averaging 17.3. Houston, 32nd, averaging 14.9. Hopefully that's not what the score is, 17-14. That'd be brutal. Third down percentage, the Houston's actually 19th in the NFL, 39.5%. The Dolphins are 17th at 40.2%. Y'all remember how bad we were on third down when Brissett was in. Tua has brought us out of mediocrity on third downs. But then you look at defensively, it is a gong show for the Dolphins. They're 31st in yards per game allowed at 419 and a half. Houston, though, they're 29th with 414.4 yards allowed. Miami, 31st in passing yards allowed, 291.1. Houston is actually 18th. They allow 253.2. In terms of rushing yards, the Dolphins are 18th. They're allowing 115.8 yards per game. And Houston is 31st, allowing 148.1 yards per game. Points per game, Miami's allowing 29.1, which is 29th in the NFL. Houston's 30th, allowing 30.1. And then third down percentage, again, the defense is still really bad. Basically 51%, 50.9% conversion rate allowed, which is 31st in the NFL, and Houston is 19th with a 41.4% conversion rate. So, two bad defenses, two bad offenses going at it this weekend. It's the battle of the cellar. Ugly stuff. When you put these teams up side by side, I mean, both on 7-game winning streaks, both of them looking at each other as an easy win. Like, let's be honest, they're looking at getting it right against us. We're looking at getting it right against them. Shout out to Fred, $4.99 donation. I hate when they keep saying we can run the ball. Yes, we have spurts, but never with consistency. I agree, bro. Fred, you're 110% right. There is no commitment. I despise it, especially when they sold us on Fuller and Waddle's speed being added to this. It was going to open up the box, take players out of the box, and allow us to run it down teams' throats, and that's not what they've done. So they lied to us, and I'm sure Greer and Stephen Ross got that same spiel, and we've all seen how that worked out. So my offensive keys to victory. Let Gaskin and Ahmed loose. It's about time. I mean, guys, Gaskin, how many games has he averaged over 5 yards per carry? We saw the formula against the Atlanta Falcons where they were using Gaskin and Ahmed, and we all saw what they were doing. They were moving the ball pretty well, doing a pretty good job. Like the guy's Gaskin's averaging 5.3 yards per game right now. Run the ball, okay? And right now, the Houston Texans, their defense, they're allowing 115.8 yards per game. Sorry, 148.1 yards per game. They're 31st in the NFL. Go get it done. This is one of the worst rushing defenses in the NFL. No excuses. Commit to it. Do it. Gaskin and Ahmed should be let loose, and they should be given the opportunity to feast. This is like not a question whatsoever. Please commit. Christ Almighty. I'm asking and I'm praying. Tua needs to take over. Listen. I know they're 18th against the pass. They allowed 253.2 yards per game. But when you look at this defense, guys, when you look, who do they have in coverage that really impresses anyone? Who? Tavier Thomas? Who do they have? They have no one that's good in coverage right now. Guys, who's in their secondary? Other than Justin Reed, who's been struggling this year, they have a terrible secondary. Like Desmond King, Vernon Hargreaves. Come on. Go get this done. Tua, it is your time. You need to take over this game. This is a team you need to flirt with 350 and put up 3 touchdowns against. 4 touchdowns. Go put in the work. I mean, they're not a very good secondary. Tua will have a chance to take over. And Eichenberg and Davis need to show up for once. I mean, how else do we say this? Okay, having another 14 pressure performance between the two of you two is not going to be acceptable. All right? I mean, if you look at it right now, in all the offensive linemen in the NFL, okay? Rookies, vets, whatever. Okay? Jesse Davis, 5th in the NFL, 29 pressures allowed. Liam Eichenberg, 6th in the NFL, 28 pressures allowed. Obviously, we know Austin Jackson, he is now 2nd in the NFL, no longer number 1 because he didn't allow a pressure, but he's still only losing by 1. Give him a week, he'll get it back. But we've got 3 starters on the offensive line are 3 of the top 6 pressure allowed. Austin Jackson at 2, Davis at 5, Eichenberg at 6. But we can't blame the O-line, right? You can only blame it for so long. Can only blame that O-line for so long. They got the worst pressure rate in over 16 years, but you can't blame them, right? So, offensive keys to victory for me. Let Gaskin Ahmed loose against his terrible run defense. Tua needs to take over. Eichenberg and Davis show up for once. Hey, I'll even take Jackson showing up again. Please. Something. All right. And then when you look at the defensive keys to victory for the Miami Dolphins, it starts off with Tyrod Taylor. Finally forced some turnovers from Tyrod Taylor. Why would I be saying that? Because Tyrod Taylor has a 112 passer rating in 7 games he's played against the Dolphins, 10 touchdowns and no interceptions. He's literally completed 72.8% of his passes against the Dolphins, and he's 5-2 in those 7 games. Okay, it's time to shut down Tyrod Taylor. And I know he's returning this week, so he's going to be rusty. I ain't trying to have it. I'm not trying to have this guy run amok against our defense. Seriously. So, finally, first turnovers from Tyrod Taylor. It's about time. You need to make it happen. Don't let Brandon Cook stretch this defense. Don't give him anything over the top. They're gonna test you with Brandon Cooks, and why wouldn't they? He's their best player, and he has a 4.33 40 time. So I imagine it's going to be X locking him down. Maybe because of the lack of weapons over there, they might trade back and forth, and it might not be traveling situation. But right now, you got this guy. He's got 70 targets, 51 receptions, 585 yards, 2 touchdowns. Do not let Brandon Cooks beat you here. Do not let Brandon Cooks have a 150-yard day with 2 touchdowns. Please. For the love of everything holy. All right? Because Brandon Cooks has actually been one of their better players this year. So you're going to have to contain them to win this game. There's literally no doubt in my mind about that whatsoever. So just go do your thing. Go do your thing. Okay? And then finally here on my offensive keys is create pressure through the interior. We are facing another team that has a leaky interior, guys and gals. And I mean, you look at Titus Howard and Max Sharping. Titus Howard, obviously the left guard, and Sharping the right guard. Between the two of them this season alone, they've allowed 31 pressures. So, I mean, you look at the right tackle, Charlie Heck and Laramie Tunsil, they've only allowed 15 between the two of them, 8 for Heck and 7 for Tunsil. And then Britt, he's been pretty steady. He's only allowed 7 pressures, but Sharping and Howard have been very leaky on the interior. So whether it's Jenkins, whether it's Raekwon Davis, you're going to have to get that push and you're going to have to penetrate. It's going to be there for you. So, go get it done. The chance for pressure is going to be here. Let's throw some stunts, some loopers up the middle. Let's go get it done. And shout out to Byron Jones, the most forced incompletions on 20-plus yard passes this season so far with 5. Shout out to the homie Byron Jones, killing the game. All right. And then my matchup to watch in this game, we're going back with the old classic quarterback matchup. For me, it's got to be Tyrod versus Tua. This is a game where I think Tua can take over, but at the same time, Tyrod is another guy who's just been really good against us. Obviously, I mean, 10 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, 112 passer rating, and it's over a 72 completion percentage against us in 7 games is ridiculous. But Tua, listen, over 2,800 yards, 19 touchdowns, 5 rushing touchdowns, 10 interceptions, and 13 starts, 15 games. This team has caused you a whole bunch of nonsense and distraction this year. Hell, there's even a rumor they want to stick with Davis Mills over you. The guy who threw for 87 yards and 4 touchdowns against Houston Texans, against the Buffalo Bills, but no one wants to talk about that. You know, this is your chance to, like, who cares whether he's going to be a Dolphin or not? Just play for it with your pride. And this is the team that has caused you nothing but headaches and nothing but troubles. Go make an example out of them. Show us the competitor you are. Go make an example out of them. That's what I need to see. That's what I need to see. Go make an example out of them. And with that said, here is my prediction. I'm taking the Miami Dolphins 38, the Houston Texans 17. I think it's going to be what I think is Davis Mills is going to have, like, he's not going to throw for 87 yards and 4 interceptions like he did against the Bills, but I think he's going to have a tough go against our defense. Now, again, he's got Pep Hamilton working with him. He did really well against the New England Patriots defense when he played them earlier this year. So I'm going to take the Dolphins heavy here. This is, I expect Tua to show them, the Texans specifically, like, who are you fucking with right now? Who are you messing with? That's what I expect. So, and I think this is gonna be the game where Tyrod steps back. I think this is where Tyrod looks human. I got faith. I got faith that our defense is gonna show up and shut down Tyrod, and two are gonna go out there and get it done. So, all right, guys, here's the deal. I'm going to be back on Sunday around 12:30. We'll open it up to you guys. We'll have y'all come on for pregame. Um, but and then we'll do the live reaction to the game this weekend. Hopefully, we get a W, because this is a matchup of two very bad teams right now. Two very, very bad teams. But guys, I appreciate each and every one of you for spending an hour of your Friday night with me. But dropping content heavy this weekend. I'm gonna go relax, take it easy, and I'm gonna go get ready for Sunday. Again, please go check out that Jalen Phillips film study. I had to re-upload it. I lost over 1,300 views because of that. Go check out that Jalen Phillips study. Go smash the like button on it. Go show it some love. Appreciate each and every one of you. I hope all of y'all have a blessed Friday night. Stay happy, healthy, safe, and blessed. I will see all y'all on Sunday. Until then, y'all already know what time it is. Fins up all day, every day.